Here's something that I want you to think about. Most of us as women, we're operating at 30 or 50% of our true capacity. We have this internal dimmer switch and we've been dim. I
Mm.
say, but as you go through this program, each week we're turning up the dimmer switch so that you're no longer going to be a nightlight. You will be a chandelier.
Welcome to the Andrea Engstrom Show for bold women in business. We are passionate about helping you break through to your next level of abundance, success, and freedom so that you can create the life you desire and inspire others to do the same. I'm your host, Andrea Engstrom, and I'm here with my gorgeous co-host, Brenda Stroud. Hey, Brenda.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, and we are joined by a very dear friend, Sharon Giddings-Davis, author of the book Fearlessly Become Her and founder of the company Fearlessly Become Her, where she coaches women to step into their next level of confidence and take courageous action. Welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Glad to be here.
Yes. Well, and Sharon, I'm just so excited for what you're doing. I'm getting such amazing feedback from women that I hear that go to your workshops and are attending. A good friend of ours that was on the podcast previously, Tina Boyd, just flew into one of your live workshops and she was raving about what you are doing. And so I wanted to just congratulate you, first of all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I met Tina because of the retreat that you had. And I thought it was so interesting because when you had the retreat, you had us sign up and say whether we wanted roommates or not. And I said no. And then she called me, she said, Andrea said, I'm so glad you introduced me to her because I said to myself, well, put no on the thing and Andrea still take my name out. But that was a God thing because
That's
she's
right.
turned out to be a very good friend. So I really appreciate that.
I had no idea that I did that. That's
Yes,
so
you do.
That must have been a God thing. Well, Sharon, I would love for you to share with us, like, what is Fearlessly Become Her? What is that all about?
So I named my company Fearlessly Become Her, wrote my book Fearlessly Become Her because I wanted to be the coach that I needed for so many
Mm.
years.
Yeah.
So my coaching program is designed to empower women to gain more confidence and courage so they can step into the abundance that God has for them and step into their next chapter. And I needed this for so long. For so many years, I was a people pleaser.
Mm.
I would shrink and wouldn't speak up, wouldn't raise my hand, wouldn't answer the questions, even though I had the answer. And I was able to overcome that. And I realized that I wasn't a unicorn. There are
Mm.
many other women who also do the same thing. So I wanted to design my program to help women who are just like myself.
Now, was there a defining moment in your life when you realized, like, for one, I need to stop this, and I actually have the answer to my own question by what you're now doing? Was there something that happened at that point that triggered it for you?
So for many years, so I've always been an achiever. I mean, whatever it is, I'm going to try to get to the top or whatever that is. But I think maybe the defining moment was losing my mother
Okay.
because she was my cheerleader. So
Yeah.
once I no longer had that cheerleader, I was like, well, gosh, what am I going to do now?
Mm.
I don't have this person in my corner. So I think that was maybe my defining moment.
Okay.
I didn't start the company at that time. I didn't even
Right.
know about coaching or any of that. But if I had to decide that there was a defining moment, it would be that.
So that's what encouraged you to kind of change and take charge and hear
It
your mother's voice spiritually, but not physically, I guess.
exactly. Her statement was, "Oh, you can do it. You can do it." She'd always say, "You can do it," no matter what that it was. She would say, "You
Yeah.
can do it." So yeah, that was a defining moment for me in terms of getting in the room with other people, joining networks and things like that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's good.
So for someone who's like, Sharon, I'm on the opposite end of Fearlessly Become Her. I am living in fear.
Mm.
What is something that you encourage women to do or to think differently? Like, what do you say to someone who is operating from a place of fear?
So interestingly enough, I had a strategy call with a lady earlier this morning, and she is operating in fear. She's got a
Mhm.
lot of things going on, but at any rate, here's what I said to her. I said, here's something that I want you to think about. Most of us as women, we're operating at 30 or 50% of our true capacity. I said that we have this internal dimmer switch and we've been dim. I
Mm,
say, but as you go through this program, each week we're turning up the dimmer switch so that you're no longer going to be a nightlight, you will be a chandelier.
I love
Oh,
it.
that
Can
gave
I
me
do the snap thing that the
goosebumps.
young people do?
Yes.
That
Wow.
was
I just
great.
literally from the top of my head all the way down my legs, that gave me goosebumps.
Yes.
Mhm.
I've never thought of it that way. Because when you said most women are operating at 30 or 40% capacity, I'm like, we are busy as heck. What are you talking about?
Right.
30 or 40% capacity. Sometimes I feel like I'm on like full on, I can't take any more capacity. But what you're describing is not about how busy you are, is it?
That's
Exactly. No, it's not about how busy we are. It's about really how effective and how impactful are we? Are we doing the things that we were called to do? And most of us, well, a lot of us are not truly walking into the full capacity of who we
right.
were called to be.
That's that is so true. I mean, I'm just hearing you say that. I can think of times when the realization for myself that I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do or operating on the level I needed to operate on. And a lot of times, what clouds your mind or affects how you show up is fear or all those other things that are really not real, but you don't realize that it's not real.
Exactly.
So I mean, so I think any person could probably relate to this at some point in their life, whether
Right.
if they've moved beyond it or if they're now realizing that, oh, this is what's hindering me. So it
Right.
sounds like your program and your book is going to bless a lot of people and help them to have that light bulb moment, like, wait a minute, that's me.
Right. So my book was my book came about as a result of journal entries. So I
Mhm.
had started journaling, and during the time I was doing a lot in the real estate investing arena, and I would go back and read those journal entries, and I said, "Wow, this sounds pretty good." And I read another one, I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good too." And so, just by the grace of God, I decided to put about 20 of them or so together and add some questions at the end and made it a book. And my prayer was that whoever reads the book would be blessed by the book, because you don't have to be a real estate investor
That's right.
to get meaning from the book, because it's really
Mhm.
about, the faithfulness of God,
Mhm.
and just how he has showed up in my life and allowed me to continue to grow.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I remember, the day that you and I talked about you maybe being a coach. You told me about this book that you were writing, and I was like, that is going to be impactful. And I want to just brag on you for a second, because I've had over 100 women in my coaches program that are building, creating their own coaching programs, and I encourage people to host workshops. And before people host their first live workshop, they basically run their workshop outline in a one-on-one call with me to give feedback. And I remember you shared your workshop with me, and I said, Sharon, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, of the 100 students that have come through my program, your workshop was the best, if one of the best, if not the best I had ever seen. And I would have guessed that you've been doing this for years and years and years. Just the And I know people listening to you will go, well, of course it is. This is like, she's such a natural, but you hadn't done a whole bunch of this before. This was, and you haven't been coaching people on this for decades and decades. But
No.
I just want to acknowledge you, and like how God has gifted you and given you language and given you inspiration for exercises, to include in your program. It is one of the most impactful things I've seen come across my screen.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, because, as I've mentioned in some of our coaching calls, I'm an introvert. And, public speaking, doing interviews, being the center of attention, that's not something that comes naturally for me. Um, but when I have to do something, I rise to the occasion. So that's really what I did with the workshop. I've had leadership roles in the past, and I've had to speak publicly in the past, but it wasn't something that I sought, or not, or even something that I wanted. But I designed the workshop because one of the things that you've said to us before is that your workshop needs to reach the kinesthetic learner, the auditory learner, the visual learner. And so I designed my workshop that way. So I wanted to be interactive, I wanted it to be fun, and I wanted to get the descriptors about what I was offering across to the ladies that were attending.
Yeah. Yeah. And you did something that most of my students don't do. You actually, instead of launching with a webinar on Zoom or a workshop, like a live workshop, but just virtual, you said, I'm going to do this in person. And you rented a hotel conference room. And I was like, oh, you're like, can I do that? I was like, you could do, yes, of course you could do that. So talk to me about how that very first workshop, when you led the first workshop in person, what was that experience like?
So I was very nervous getting started because I knew some of the ladies that were in attendance, but it was an Eventbrite, so you don't know a lot of the people that are coming. And but I had so much energy in the room that it was actually very fun. It was very relaxing, and I think it was impactful. The ladies were so engaged. So that's what I look for, is that engagement, and I feed off of that energy that the people bring to the workshop.
Yeah. Yeah. It was such a, yeah. And it was so good that when I heard your workshop, I was like, will you come do this for all of our students, like our mastermind group? Like, I want them to experience this. And so I just want to acknowledge what an impact that you make when you're in your giftedness. And I want people to know, like, even if you are an introvert, even if you haven't leaned in to do these things like this, that you stepping into your confidence to take that action and do it scared, do it even though you're like, I'm not sure if this is really how I'm wired, but you're leaning into what are obvious strengths for you. And I think it's inspiring others that they can do it too, that they can take a bold step and move out of their comfort zone to do something. And that's what you teach, isn't it?
That is what I teach. And I appreciate that, because even when I led the session that you allowed me to lead in your group, and when Tina attended my live workshop, she said, I didn't know you were an introvert, because she had been texting me like the day after, and I was kind of slow to respond. And I told her the next day, I said, well, I'm an introvert. I need time to recover. And she was like, I didn't know you were an introvert. How are you an introvert? And someone said that when I did your workshop too. I'm like, yes, I am an introvert.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many ladies who are educating and blessing others describe themselves in the same way. But then when you're flowing in that gift that God has given you, it's like a light bulb that comes on in you. You're not really thinking about the same things we think about when everything is calm and you get nervous about speaking. You just kind of flow in that gift and that assignment that God has given you. So I think in those moments, maybe not so much are you an introvert, and then you kind of go back to it. So that's probably why most people find that hard to believe when you share that, because they've witnessed you flow in your gifts and your talents, and were able to receive the assignment that you've given them and that God has given you. So that's exciting. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, Sharon, tell us about what you were doing before you wrote the book. Talk to us a little bit about your career path and what has led you to this.
Yes, certainly. So I was working in higher education. I worked in higher education for 25 years. I went from, I was a dean, I was a vice president of business services, and I was a chief critical response officer. I was a business continuity officer. And the thing that I'm very grateful for is that every job that I have had, whether it's the first job out of college to the last job, I have always been blessed in my jobs. I've never been one to say, "Oh, I hate that job," because I've never had a job that I hate.
Mhm.
So that's what I did. I worked in higher ed. As I said, I'm an achiever. So I've got the bachelor's degree, the master's degree, the doctorate degree. I've done the things. So as I do what I need to do to get to where I need to go. So that's who I am.
I love it.
That's
And
awesome.
so should we be calling you doctor?
You don't have to call me doctor. In higher ed, being a PhD is a really big deal. But no, I don't require or ask people to call me doctor at all.
Well, I'm here to tell you it's a really big deal regardless, because that's a great accomplishment and achievement. So I think that's a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We got to start calling you doctor.
I will. Okay, so Dr. Sharon, tell us about, who is your program for? Like, how would somebody know that they should reach out to you? What's going on in her life?
So basically, it's women who have played small, women who've been people pleasers, women who've put their dreams and their goals on the back burner, women who've been afraid to just step into what they know they want to do. So those feelings that sometimes we have, those limiting beliefs, it's for those women.
Mm-hmm.
So do you only coach women?
I do. I only coach women.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like that's what I know. I mean, I know how to be a woman. I know what women are thinking about. I just don't feel like I've been called to coach men.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's great.
No, I think that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, how do you help someone who is feeling like they're playing small? And I want to point out for a second that someone who has achieved what you have achieved
Mm-hmm.
and has determined that there have been times in your life when you were playing small.
Mm.
Because it is not always obvious to other people that we are not living up to our potential. They may be like, "Girl, you're doing great. What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
And I've been one of those people where
Mm-hmm.
I was standing on big stages. I had, a lot of accolades and people who knew my name. And I was crying in my pillow at night because I knew that I was playing small.
Yeah.
I knew. And so, like, how does someone do a gut check? Because for me, it showed up as depression.
Mm-hmm.
It showed up as, and it kind of comes back to that idea of like, I was operating from a zone of excellence, but not a zone of genius.
Mm.
And so what are some indicators that someone is playing small and they may not even realize that that's what's happening?
Yeah.
So I think definitely what you said, crying in your pillow, but then also I think it's like an internal feeling when you have a feeling that I could have done better.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter that you've have all these achievements, but on the inside, you know that there's more for you. For me, I had a dream, and in my dream, I was this little old lady. Like, I was outside, and this little old lady came and she said, "It's time." And I was like, "Time for what?" And she just said, "Well, it's time." And so I woke up, and I was in California, and I live in Dallas. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I not going to make it back home? What does that mean? I don't know what it's time mean." And then I had another dream. And in this dream, I was on a bus carrying a suitcase. So it's like a Greyhound or something, I guess. And I was trying to find a seat. And everywhere I went, I pull my suitcase. I go look down this row. It looks like a vacant seat, and no, there was someone there. And I go a little further, look like a vacant seat. There was someone there, and I couldn't find a seat. So of course, when I woke up, I, Googled and look up when, what does this mean? I can't find a seat on this bus and what have you. And it says you're trying to fit in places that you no longer belong. And so
Girl.
like, whoa. So I took that and added that to the feelings that I had been having about where I was and what I was doing, and decided that, hey, it's time for a change.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know for me, I feel uneasy more so than, sleepless nights kind of things would occur when it's time for me to kind of pay close attention to how you're spending your time and how you're thinking and the, and how you're receiving the things that's going on in your life. Because, when I feel like that does not leave space for me to be creative, because I'm so busy playing things over and over again, in my head. And I'm sure a lot of other women have had that same experience, and maybe they can't put a label to it or even verbalize what actually it is, but it's that in and of itself is something that's an indication that they may need to reach out to you or read your book or let me figure this out kind of energy or moment.
Right. And the other thing, Brenda, is we have to audit our tribe.
Yeah.
Because if you are with people who don't support you, people who judge you, people who allow you to play small, or who don't value your input or value who you are trying to be, then sometimes it's time to make a change.
That's right.
And that's hard. I mean, that's hard sometimes, because sometimes there are people you've been with all your life. So.
Yeah. I always describe that as, being with like-minded people.
Exactly.
But then when your mind changes, your people got changed.
Your people have to change. You're right.
So you typically know, like, oh, this is not fun anymore, or the conversations are not interesting or uplifting. And then, and then hopefully by that time, doors have opened to another room where the like-minded people are, and all you have to do is walk through the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I think when we think about indicators of if you are playing small or if something, I mean, I had a physiological response when you said what you just said about being on the wrong bus.
Yeah.
Like that you were trying to fit in a place that is not for you. I mean, and earlier when you talked about the dimmer, the dimmer metaphor, where you're at a nightlight and you're meant to be a chandelier. And so we're going to work on moving that dimmer switch up through this process that you coach people through. Literally head to toe chills, physiological response to that idea. And it made me stop and think, where am I playing small? Where am I trying to still fit in places that I have outgrown or that are not for me? Or, and so I just want the listeners who are hearing this today, if you had a physiological response the way that I did, that is also an indicator that there is something to pay attention to.
Yes.
Whether that's God using you and it's the Holy Spirit that's like flooding through your body in that moment saying, girl, pay attention. I say pay attention when things like that happen and when it resonates, because there is something there that you need to hear. Right.
Right. I mean, so many times we're looking for answers, and we're looking for things to come a certain way, and they don't always show up the way that we may think they should show up. I'm reminded about the story of I'm sure it's not true, but anyway, the story of the man who was in a flood at his house, and he said, God save me, God save me. And God sent the boat. And the man said, no, I'm waiting on God to save me. And then the flood kept coming. He went to the roof, and God sent the helicopter, and they said, hey, here, get on the ladder. And he was like, no, I'm waiting on God to save me. And then the man dies and goes to heaven. He was like, God, why didn't you save me? He said, well, I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. You just didn't get in.
That's right.
You just didn't get, so many times we have opportunities, we have doors that open, but we won't walk through them. Or we won't take advantage of those opportunities that are right before us.
And hearing you say that, I think that it's one of those things where only but so much can God present you with. Right. There is an action you have got to take Even
Exactly.
if it's just making your mind up that I'm ready, or surrendering, like I can do no more, let me follow you. Whatever that small or big action is, you are required to do something.
Right.
And that's what we
Exactly.
have to, I think that's what, well, since we're talking about women, that's what women have to remember. It's not like God's going to do it for you. He'll put he'll set the table. He'll give you
Mhm.
all of the, all of the dishes, but it's incumbent upon you to eat.
That's
Mm.
true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Brenda, I wonder, this is making me think like, can you relate to what Sharon's talking about? Because a lot of our listeners, like they get to know us and they get to know you and they think, well, Brenda's like a powerhouse. Can you relate to this
Oh,
conversation about feeling like your dimmer switch has been like on a lower
absolutely. I mean,
setting?
I feel even now in this moment, I'm going through a period of recalibration, because you can get it, in one season, then something else happens where you have to recalibrate. So I feel like even now I'm going through a recalibration. What we do and what people see is two totally different things. And the things that you have to manage, and because I know for myself, I describe myself as a risk taker.
Mhm.
I'm always walking around with my little parachute waiting for a bridge to jump off of. Well, that behavior in and of itself can sometimes be hard, a heavy load to carry when you're like fearless. So
Mhm.
fearless and being fearful sometimes can have some of the same results,
Mhm.
which means you can do too much. You can have too
Absolutely.
much going on at one time. So yes, I've had, I'm experiencing something like that now. I've experienced it in the past, but what do I know? It's just a season. And I know
Mhm.
for a fact I'm going to move through it. So I think that's what allows me to be very honest with myself when I have these moments where, okay, wait a minute, something's off, or it's not, I feel myself spinning too many wheels spinning or whatever, or I'm starting to feel myself get a little depressed,
Mhm.
that I know enough about myself to know it's time to recalibrate.
Mm.
So it's getting people to that point where they're able to, not so much that they're not going to experience it, but what do you do when you begin to see that you are experiencing it is part of, I think, the one of the tools you need to come out on the other side. So you got to put what you're talking about in your toolkit, carry it around with you. So when you find yourself like feeling like, okay, this is a little bit more than I expected, or these unexpected things that are happening, what am I supposed to do? That they actually know, let me reach in here and pull this out, recalibrate, or however they want to describe it. That doesn't mean something's wrong. It's just, this is the world we live in. Sometimes we've got to, carry the weight, but that just know how to put it down. That's
I,
the way I approach it. And like I said, it's not the same way from the outside looking in. Sister girl goes through. Oh yeah. But I'm not afraid to share that and be open and honest about it. And I think that's, for me, is part of honesty and transparency. Is really part of, for me, being a healthy person.
and I think it's very, very good that you are willing to share that, because people do, they see Brenda Stroud, Andrea Engstrom, and they go, wow, they're so successful. Um, I mean, even my coming on here, I haven't even eaten today because I'm like, oh, I'm so nervous. I'm gonna be with these two powerhouses. I have to eat afterwards. But but you're right. People
Yeah,
just see what they see from the outside, and you're human too, and you experience some of the same stressors that everyone else does. It's
absolutely.
and you recognize them within yourself, and you know how to recalibrate as needed.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think for some people it'll take them out. And I think for like myself and Andrea and people that think like we do and perform like we do, and yourself, Sharon,
Mhm.
is that it doesn't take you out. It just allows you to see that, okay, wait a minute, let me figure out what I need to do. Which way do I need to go? It's like a fork in the road. I can
Right.
continue to go down the road and feel woe is me and feel, and let it shut me down or make me fearful or whatever. Or I can go the other direction, face it, get my tools, ask for help or whatever, get into a therapy session, whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
because I know that stopping is not an option.
Right.
Quitting is not an option. So I think that's what's in the forefront, meaning we're ready to face those difficult things that comes down the road because we know that they're there. But the thing that I have to do is to make sure I have the tools so that I can move beyond that. And that is, you got to be very conscious. for that. So it's not that I haven't faced fears, not that I haven't faced difficulties or
Right.
that things haven't gone the way I expected them to go. It happens to everyone. But the thing is, I cannot allow it to stop me. I'm going to figure this thing out with the grace of God. I am, but I have got to get that cloudiness out the way so I can receive, whether it's the creativity or the ideas or whatever it is that God has for me. If I sit in that place of uncertainty and woe is me and the fogginess too long, I'm going to miss whatever that message is I'm supposed to get from that moment. I have to. You got to sit still sometimes.
Right.
I love that you use the term tools. And Sharon, I'm curious, what are some tools that have been helpful to you or that you recommend for others when they are either recalibrating or like what are some practical things that people can do to start to undim or brighten their light if they feel like they are in that place?
So some of the things that I talk to women about is owning your story. Know where you started, where you are, and where you're going. I also talk to them about activating their voice. I want them to think about what they're saying to themselves and what they're saying about themselves. So I want them to watch the words that they are using. And I want them to then empower themselves by affirming their identity in who it is you say you are, who it is God says you are, and how are you showing up? Are you showing up as her?
That's good.
So that's just some of the things that we talk about and we go through as we're going through the 8-week program.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things that I love about your story too is that you went through a season in your life and you were journaling and then you went back and you read it and you were like, this could be helpful to other people. Talk to me more about the role that journaling has had in your life. Like why were you journaling during that season?
Well, it's interesting. I have tried to journal for many, many years and I never could do it. I mean, every coach you talk to, every influencer, they say journal, journal, journal. And I just couldn't make myself journal. I tried for several times, but I just couldn't. And I finally did it. I finally had someone say, just write. It doesn't, just write. And so it was a lot of uncertainty that I was feeling, trying to figure out what's next. I'm moving from moving from a W-2 to a non-W-2. What's next? How's this going to look? And I have a ill father. I have a senior aunt, and that I help care for. And so I just started writing things down in the journal. And a lot of it, as I said, the backdrop of it is real estate investing. But it was just life. And I just started needing to put my thoughts in writing. And I've written before. I've written romance books before. And it's so interesting because my bachelor's degree is in accounting. So I'm a left brain person. I think black and white and very little gray. And one of the things that my mom and I shared was our love for romance books. And so when she got sick, I decided, well, I'm gonna write a book and she can read it. And she did get to see the rough draft before she passed. And I wrote that book. And it's so after my mom passed, I met a lady virtually. I still have never seen her in person, who was over a romance slam jam. But anyway,
Great name.
I know. Her name is Bonita. She's in California. And I was talking to her on the phone one day and she said, well, what's going on with you and what have you? So I told her, I said, well, I have this rough draft of this book and, something I really wanted to do for my mom, but I haven't published. And she just poured into me and she was like, well, I'm going to be your virtual mom. I'm going to be your mom from California and you can talk to me. And this lady, she she has no idea how she just blessed me just by those kind words. And I've talked to her several times since then. I don't even think I told her how much that meant to me. Maybe I'll send her this
Yeah.
link. Um, but anyway, so the writing for me is a really good way of comfort for myself. It's a way to get my thoughts out of my head and on paper. And I'm just surprised sometimes when I go back and read what I've written. Even writing gratitudes, I've had a coach that said, write your gratitudes down. Even writing the gratitudes and going back and reading them, it's like, wow, things aren't so bad. And look at what God has done already. Look at how far I've already come.
Mhm.
So those things have been very helpful for me. So when I wrote these journal entries, I later decided, well, let me just put them in a book. Maybe they'll bless someone else.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Mhm.
So, Sharon, we challenge our listeners every week to do something to take bold action. What is something that you would challenge our listeners to do to take bold action this week?
I would say do something you've never done before.
Mm.
Conquer a fear. Do something that you've never done before, but you've wanted to do.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. I always say that what you want most is on the other side of what you resist most.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
The thing that you're hesitating on is probably the thing to pay attention to.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
true.
beautiful.
I always think that when you're struggling with something, you're having a really difficult time with something, you got to go back at it. That to me is telling me there must be a blessing on the other side. So I need to go through this to get to what's intended for me to do. So that's what I hear. And he's saying, try to do something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I never would have thought that I would be coaching other women. And it's so interesting because this past Sunday, our preacher preached about Exodus and Moses. And, as we're going through the nail your niche, we're being asked things about what we're passionate about, what we like, what kind of work we've done in the past. And I was thinking about this as I was listening to the sermon because Moses kept having excuses, well, who am I going to tell him sent me? Well, I don't really talk that well. And he kept, and God asked him, well, what's in your hand? So what is it you already have?
Yeah.
And let's repurpose that
Yes.
for the job that you're being called to do. So I see that even in myself because
Mhm.
I never thought I would be helping to lead other women.
Yeah.
But when I think about the experience, the knowledge, the things that I've gone through, I can help others get through those same things. I can help others with similar challenges. I can use what I have in my hand to turn around and be a blessing to other people.
That's a blessing. I
Woo!
love it.
Woo! Goosebumps again. That was
Yeah,
the third time.
absolutely.
Third time.
Dr. Sharon just gave us a prescription.
Yes. Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you. Amazing. Well, Dr. Sharon, if someone wants to connect with you and learn more about like how to come to your next workshop, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So they can connect with me via my website, fearlesslybecomeher.com. They can email me at sharon@fearlesslybecomeher.com. Or they can join my Facebook group, fearlesslybecomeher.com. I've made it really, really simple and really easy to remember.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. All right. And Brenda, how can people connect with you?
You can connect with me on my website, which is brendastroud.com, on social media, just using my name, Brenda Stroud, Instagram and Facebook.
Yes. All right. And if you got goosebumps even one time in this episode, I want you to share this episode with someone that you know needs to hear this, that this would be a blessing to them. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon, for being with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate your having me.
Yeah.
I loved hearing your story, and I feel like it's going to bless so many people, to include myself.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I appreciate both of you for having me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And if you want to do something to move forward in your life and in your business, if you're a woman entrepreneur, I want to invite you to join my Facebook group, which is Bold Women in Business Sisterhood, where you can connect with amazing people like Dr. Sharon and Brenda with us today. You guys are amazing. I just feel so blessed to have this opportunity to have meaningful conversations with amazing women like you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome. I feel blessed too.
All right. Well, I just want to kind of wrap this up and just say, till next time, I'm Andrea Engstrom. We are your sisters in business, encouraging you to take action on your dreams. Show up to your life with power and authenticity. Be bold, be tenacious, and make it happen.
Bye.
Oh,
That was great, Sharon.
yes.
Thank
You didn't look nervous at all.
Well, I was.
Oh, it didn't come across.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Andrea, I just really appreciate your having me. I thought that, maybe I'll get to be on her show when I get, when I do something great or grand, but I appreciate your having me.
You already have. You are her.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
You showed up great and grand.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that. You ladies
Absolutely.
are very kind.
Well, thank you so much, Sharon.